The notification on my phone glowed at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in March. A single text message from Jessica Thompson, my co-founder and college roommate. The woman who had helped me turn a garage project into a $3 million AI company. The message contained just 5 words that would change everything. Emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. I stared at the screen in my Denver apartment, the mountain skyline barely visible through the darkness. In 3 years of building StreamlineAI together, we had never called an emergency board meeting. We barely had formal meetings at all. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Jessica and I usually hashed out decisions over coffee at Brew Bytes, our favorite spot on Larimer Street, but Marcus Chen, our lead investor, had been pushing for more corporate structure ever since he invested $2.5 million 6 months ago. Something in my gut told me this wasn't about quarterly reviews or expansion plans. I had noticed subtle changes in Jessica's behavior over the past few weeks. Hushed phone calls that ended when I walked into the room. Meetings with Marcus that I wasn't invited to. Documents marked confidential that used to cross my desk automatically. When I asked about these things, Jessica would flash her familiar smile and say something about investor relations or board protocols. I trusted her completely, so I didn't push. That trust was about to destroy me. The next morning, I walked into our converted warehouse office in Boulder, expecting to see our usual casual setup. Instead, I found Marcus Chen sitting at the head of our conference table, wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Jessica sat to his right, avoiding eye contact. 2 other men I didn't recognize flanked Marcus, their expressions cold and professional. Legal documents were spread across the table like weapons. Marcus didn't bother with pleasantry. His voice carried the kind of authority that comes from 15 years of Silicon Valley power plays. Alex, we need to discuss the future direction of StreamlineAI. The board has made some difficult decisions. I felt my world tilt slightly. The board consisted of 3 people. Myself, Jessica, and Marcus. When had they made decisions without me? I looked at Jessica, searching for some sign that this was a misunderstanding, but she continued staring at the papers in front of her. Marcus continued, his tone measured and deliberate. The company has reached a critical juncture. We need experienced leadership to scale effectively. After careful consideration, the board has voted to restructure the executive team. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I knew what was coming before he said it, but hearing it out loud felt like being hit by a freight train. Effective immediately, you're being removed as CEO. Jessica will assume that role, and you'll transition to a technical advisory position with a significantly reduced equity stake. The room went silent except for the distant hum of traffic outside. I felt my heart hammering against my chest as the implications crashed over me like a tsunami. My company, the platform I had coded from scratch in my parents' garage, the customer relationships I had built one conversation at a time, the late nights, the sacrificed weekends, the family savings I had risked. All of it, stripped away with a simple board vote. Jessica finally looked up, her eyes glistening with what might have been tears or guilt. Alex, this isn't personal, it's about what's best for the company. We need someone with more experience in scaling operations. Her words felt like a betrayal deeper than Marcus's corporate maneuvering. Jessica had been there from the beginning. She had seen me build every line of code, had celebrated every customer milestone, had promised we would always be partners. Now she was sitting across from me, having voted away my life's work. I forced my voice to remain steady, though inside I was falling apart. When exactly did this board vote take place? Marcus checked his expensive watch with theatrical precision. Yesterday evening. All proper procedures were followed. Yesterday evening, while I was in my apartment, excited about our latest customer acquisition numbers, my business partner and my investor were plotting to remove me from my own company. The betrayal wasn't just professional, it was personal in the most devastating way possible. The absorption phase hit me like a delayed shockwave. I sat in my car in the parking lot outside our Boulder office for what felt like hours, though it was probably only 20 minutes. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white, and I could feel my pulse throbbing in my temple. The Colorado mountains, usually a source of inspiration and calm, looked cold and indifferent through my windshield. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's nightmare unfold in slow motion. The brain has a strange way of protecting itself during trauma, and mine kept trying to rationalize what had just happened. Maybe this was a negotiation tactic. Maybe Marcus was testing my resolve. Maybe Jessica was being pressured and would come to her senses. But deep down, I knew the truth was much simpler and more brutal. I had been outmaneuvered by people I trusted. I thought about calling my parents, but what would I tell them? That their son, who had convinced them to invest their retirement savings into his dream, had just lost everything. That the AI platform designed to help small businesses like their restaurant had been stolen from under my nose. The shame was almost unbearable. My phone buzzed with a text from David Rodriguez, my former professor and mentor who had become an angel investor and advisor. Heard about the board meeting. Can we talk? The Silicon Valley network moves fast, and bad news travels even faster. Within hours, everyone in Denver's tech scene would know that Alex Rivera had been forced out of his own company. I started my car and drove aimlessly through Denver's streets, past the startup accelerators and co-working spaces, where I had once felt like I belonged. The city's energy, usually infectious and motivating, now felt like a reminder of my failure. How had I been so naive? How had I missed the signs that Marcus was positioning himself for a takeover? The investment phase of what I had built became crystal clear as the shock began to wear off. StreamlineAI wasn't just a company to me, it was the culmination of everything I had learned and sacrificed over the past 3 years. I had taught myself advanced machine learning algorithms during countless sleepless nights. I had personally onboarded our first 100 customers, learning their pain points and adapting our platform to solve real problems. The genesis of StreamlineAI came from watching my parents struggle with their small Mexican restaurant in downtown Denver. They spent hours every week on inventory management, customer service, and scheduling tasks that should have been automated. But every solution on the market was either too expensive or too complicated for a family business to implement. I saw an opportunity to build artificial intelligence that was actually intelligent enough to work for regular people, not just tech companies. Those early days in my parents' garage were some of the hardest and most rewarding of my life. I worked 16-hour days coding the initial platform while consulting part-time to pay rent. When Jessica joined after graduating from CU Boulder's business program, she brought the marketing expertise and operational skills that transformed my prototype into a real company. Together, we had built something that was helping small businesses across Colorado automate their operations and compete with larger competitors. Our customer base had grown to 47 businesses, from family restaurants to local retail stores to service companies. Each one represented relationships I had personally cultivated. I knew their stories, their challenges, their success. When Maria Gonzalez told me that our AI platform had helped her food truck business increase efficiency by 40%, allowing her to hire 2 new employees, I felt like I was making a real difference in the world. The financial investment was equally significant. I had used my entire savings account, plus money borrowed from my parents to fund the initial development. When we needed to hire our first employees, I convinced my uncle to invest his construction business profits into our vision. Every dollar that went into StreamlineAI represented trust from people who believed in me personally, not just the business idea. Jessica and I had complemented each other perfectly during those early growth phases. While I focused on product development and customer relationships, she handled operations, marketing, and business development. We had an unspoken partnership built on mutual respect and shared sacrifice. Or at least I thought we did. The recognition patterns started forming as I replayed the past 6 months in my mind. Marcus Chen had approached us through a warm introduction from David Rodriguez, who vouched for Marcus's track record of helping companies scale. Marcus's venture capital firm, Summit Capital Partners, occupied the 32nd floor of a glass tower in downtown Denver's financial district. His office had panoramic views of the Rocky Mountains and walls lined with framed photos of successful exits and IPO celebrations. During our initial meetings, Marcus had been charming and supportive. He spoke passionately about democratizing artificial intelligence and helping small businesses compete in an increasingly digital economy. His investment proposal seemed straightforward: $2.5 million for a 40% stake, with provisions for additional funding rounds as we scaled. Jessica and I were thrilled to have an experienced investor who understood our vision and could provide the capital needed for rapid expansion. But now, looking back, I could see the warning signs I had ignored. Marcus had insisted on bringing in a new head of sales, despite our strong organic growth. He had pushed for hiring additional administrative staff, creating layers of bureaucracy that slowed down our decision-making process. Most concerning, he had gradually positioned himself as the bridge between our company and potential customers, inserting Summit Capital's network into relationships I had built independently. The board meetings had become increasingly formal and frequent. What started as monthly check-ins evolved into weekly strategy sessions, where Marcus would question every significant decision. He would frame his concerns as investor due diligence, but I now realized he was systematically documenting everything that could be used to justify removing me from leadership. Jessica's transformation had been more subtle but equally calculated. She started deferring to Marcus on strategic questions, citing his experience with scaling businesses. When I proposed new product features or customer acquisition strategies, she would suggest running them by Marcus first. Gradually, I found myself needing approval for decisions I had previously made independently. The most telling sign, which I had completely missed, was the shift in Jessica's communication pattern. She stopped including me in certain email threads, explaining that they were investor relations or administrative matters. She began scheduling calls with Marcus during times when I was focused on coding or customer support. When I asked about these conversations, she would provide vague summaries about operational efficiency and growth planning. 3 weeks before the emergency board meeting, Jessica had suggested that we needed to formalize our decision-making processes to prepare for future investment rounds. She proposed creating official board resolutions for major decisions and implementing corporate governance standards that Marcus recommended. I agreed, thinking this was a natural evolution as we matured as a company. I had no idea I was signing documents that would be used to remove me from power. The financial records revealed another layer of Marcus's strategy. He had structured his investment with specific voting rights and board composition requirements that I hadn't fully understood. While I retained majority equity on paper, the legal framework gave him effective control over key decisions. Jessica's support was all he needed to implement any changes he wanted. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Looking back, I realized that Marcus had been planning this takeover from the moment he invested. He had identified StreamlineAI as an undervalued asset with strong growth potential but inexperienced leadership. Rather than partnering with us to build something great, he had decided to acquire control and install management he could direct. Jessica, dazzled by Marcus's confidence and resources, had chosen to align herself with what she perceived as the winning side. The steel moment came as I sat in my apartment that evening, staring at the legal documents Marcus had given me. The technical advisory role they offered was essentially a consulting contract with no real authority or equity upside. They wanted to keep me involved just enough to maintain continuity with existing customers and preserve the technical knowledge I had developed, but without any control over the company's direction. I could have accepted their offer. Part of me was tempted to take the easy path, collect a modest salary and avoid the risks of starting over. But as I read through the contract details, something hardened inside me. This wasn't just about money or professional recognition, it was about principle. Marcus and Jessica had stolen something that represented years of my life and the trust of everyone who had believed in my vision. I thought about Maria Gonzalez and the other small business owners who depended on our platform. Under Marcus's leadership, Streamline AI would likely pivot toward larger enterprise customers who could pay higher fees. The simplicity and affordability that made our solution accessible to family businesses would be sacrificed for higher profit margins. Everything I had built to help people like my parents would be corrupted into just another corporate product. That night, I made a decision that would define the next chapter of my life. I wasn't going to accept their offer. I wasn't going to fade quietly into a subordinate role. I was going to fight back, and I was going to win. But this wouldn't be an emotional reaction driven by anger or wounded pride. This would be a calculated campaign to prove that Marcus and Jessica had made the biggest mistake of their careers. I opened my laptop and started typing. Not code this time, but a strategic plan. If they wanted to play corporate warfare, I would show them what a motivated engineer with nothing left to lose could accomplish. I was going to build something better than Streamline AI, something that would make their stolen company look obsolete. And I was going to do it by being everything they weren't: innovative, principled, and genuinely committed to helping small businesses succeed. The betrayal had revealed their true character, but it had also clarified mine. I wasn't just a technical founder who had gotten lucky with a good idea. I was someone who could learn from mistakes, adapt to challenges, and build something meaningful from nothing. Marcus had underestimated me once. He wouldn't get the chance to do it again. The hidden arsenal I possessed wasn't immediately obvious to Marcus or Jessica, and that was exactly how I wanted it. While they celebrated their corporate coup and began implementing their vision for Streamline AI's future, they had no idea what they had actually acquired versus what they had lost. The most valuable assets of our company weren't listed on any balance sheet or documented in any legal filing. They existed in my mind, in my personal relationships, and in the advanced algorithms I had been developing in secret. During the 3 years of building Streamline AI, I had maintained what I called my innovation laboratory. This was a separate development environment where I experimented with cutting-edge machine learning techniques that were too advanced or risky to implement in our production platform immediately. While our customers were using AI that was already revolutionary for small businesses, I had been working on technology that was at least 2 years ahead of anything else in the market. The breakthrough had come 6 months before Marcus's investment, ironically around the same time he was beginning his systematic takeover strategy. I had discovered a way to create self-learning AI systems that could adapt to new business environments without requiring extensive setup or training. Traditional AI platforms, including our current version of Streamline AI, needed significant configuration and customization for each new customer. Business owners had to input detailed information about their operations, train the system on their specific workflows, and continuously adjust parameters as their needs evolved. My new approach eliminated most of these barriers through what I called adaptive intelligence architecture. The AI could observe a business environment for just a few days, and automatically configure itself to optimize operations without human intervention. Instead of requiring weeks of setup and training, a restaurant owner could install the system on Monday and see meaningful automation by Friday. The implications were staggering. We could expand into markets that were currently unreachable because small businesses lacked the time or technical expertise to implement traditional AI solutions. I had kept this development completely private, working on it during late nights and weekends in my apartment. Not even Jessica knew about the advanced algorithms I was perfecting. My plan had been to reveal this technology as our next major product evolution, potentially attracting a much larger investment round, and establishing Streamline AI as the undisputed leader in accessible artificial intelligence. Instead, Marcus's betrayal had given me something even more valuable: a massive competitive advantage that my former partners knew nothing about. The technical specifications of my adaptive intelligence system represented years of research and experimentation. I had solved fundamental problems in machine learning that major tech companies were still struggling with. The algorithm could process unstructured data from multiple sources, identify patterns in business operations without supervised learning, and generate optimization recommendations that actually made sense to non-technical users. More importantly, the system improved continuously without requiring expensive data science teams or constant maintenance. Beyond the technology itself, I possessed something equally valuable: intimate knowledge of StreamlineAI's weaknesses and limitations. I knew exactly which customer problems our current platform couldn't solve effectively. I understood the technical debt that had accumulated in our codebase as we rushed to meet growth targets. I was aware of the operational inefficiencies that Marcus and Jessica would struggle to identify, let alone address. Most critically, I knew which customers were dissatisfied with certain aspects of our service, but had stayed loyal because of their personal relationships with me. My customer knowledge went far deeper than names and account details. I understood the seasonal patterns of Maria Gonzalez's food truck business and how our AI could be optimized for mobile commerce. I knew that Tom Bradley's auto repair shop needed predictive maintenance features that we had never prioritized because the market seemed too niche. I had identified dozens of enhancement opportunities that could transform satisfied customers into enthusiastic advocates, but implementing these improvements required someone who genuinely understood small business operations, rather than just software development. The financial architecture of my new venture had been forming in my mind since the moment Marcus revealed his true intentions. I had been building relationships in Denver's investment community independently of Jessica and our formal business activity. These connections were personal rather than professional, built through industry meetups, university alumni networks, and collaborative projects that had nothing to do with StreamlineAI. Marcus had been so focused on controlling our existing investor relationships that he had never considered my ability to access entirely different funding sources. My secret weapon also included detailed documentation of every strategic conversation, technical decision, and customer interaction from the past 3 years. While Jessica handled much of our operational record keeping, I maintained my own comprehensive notes about what worked, what failed, and why. This knowledge base would allow me to avoid repeating mistakes and accelerate development of my new platform. I could learn from our experiments without having to conduct them again, giving me a significant head start over any competitor starting from scratch. Perhaps most importantly, I had maintained relationships with key employees who had never fully bought into Marcus's vision for the company. Sarah Kim, our lead developer, had expressed frustration with the bureaucratic changes Marcus imposed. She preferred the collaborative, innovative environment we had cultivated before outside investors became involved. Bob Wilson, who handled our financial operations, had questioned some of Marcus's strategic recommendations privately, though he was too diplomatic to voice these concerns publicly. These relationships represented potential allies who understood both the technical and business aspects of what we had built together. The coalition building phase began with a single phone call to David Rodriguez. David had been my computer science professor at the University of Colorado Boulder before transitioning into entrepreneurship. He had successfully founded and sold 3 technology companies over 15 years, and his experience navigating Silicon Valley politics made him an invaluable mentor. More importantly, David had introduced me to Marcus originally, which meant he felt partially responsible for the situation I now faced. When I called David at 10:30 that night, he answered immediately, despite the late hour. His voice carried a mixture of concern and anger that told me he had already heard about the board meeting through industry channels. David's first words were not consolation or sympathy, but a direct question that revealed his strategic mindset. What do you need to compete with them? David's office occupied a corner suite in a modern building in Denver's River North Art District, an area that had become a hub for creative professionals and technology startups. The space reflected his personality: clean lines, minimal decoration, and multiple whiteboards covered with diagrams and strategic frameworks. When I arrived the next morning, David had already prepared coffee and cleared his schedule for what he anticipated would be a lengthy planning session. Marcus made a classic mistake, David explained as he pulled up financial data on his laptop. He assumed that controlling the corporate structure meant controlling the actual value creation. But in technology companies, especially AI platforms, the real assets are intellectual property and customer relationships. You still own the most important parts of what made StreamlineAI successful. David's analysis helped me understand the broader market dynamics that would determine my chances of success. The artificial intelligence industry was experiencing rapid growth, but most solutions were still too complex or expensive for small businesses to implement effectively. StreamlineAI had identified a genuine market opportunity, but our execution had been limited by resource constraints and strategic compromises. A new company with better technology and more focused leadership could capture market share that StreamlineAI was leaving on the table. The timing is actually perfect, David continued, showing me market research data from his investment network. Small business adoption of AI is accelerating, but satisfaction rates are declining because current solutions don't deliver on their promise. There's a massive opportunity for someone who can build something that actually works the way customers expect it to work. David's connections in the investment community extended far beyond traditional venture capital firms. He had relationships with family offices, angel investor groups, and corporate development teams, who were specifically interested in artificial intelligence applications. Many of these investors had been watching the small business AI market, but hadn't found companies that combined technical innovation with genuine understanding of customer needs. My background and track record, combined with advanced technology that could differentiate clearly from existing solutions, represented exactly what they were seeking. Within 3 days, David had arranged introductory meetings with 4 potential investors. Unlike my experience with Marcus, these conversations focused on long-term vision and market opportunity rather than corporate control and operational efficiency. The investors were interested in backing someone who could execute on the promise that AI could actually help small businesses rather than just talking about it in marketing material. The first significant ally I recruited was Sarah Kim, StreamlineAI's lead developer and the person most responsible for translating my algorithmic innovations into working software. Sarah had joined our team 18 months earlier, leaving a comfortable position at a larger tech company because she was excited about our mission and the opportunity to work on challenging technical problems. Her Stanford computer science background and experience with machine learning frameworks made her invaluable for implementing complex AI systems. Sarah's frustration with Marcus's leadership style had been growing steadily since his investment. Marcus treated software development as a cost center rather than a competitive advantage, pushing for faster delivery schedules without understanding the technical trade-offs involved. He had suggested outsourcing certain development work to reduce expenses, despite Sarah's warnings that our AI algorithms required specialized expertise that couldn't be easily replicated by external contractors. When I met Sarah for coffee at Brew Bytes, our conversation revealed deeper concerns about StreamlineAI's technical direction under Marcus's influence. He keeps talking about scaling and operational efficiency, Sarah explained, but he doesn't understand that our competitive advantage comes from having better algorithms, not just better business processes. He wants to turn us into a typical SaaS company when we should be pushing the boundaries of what AI can do for small businesses. Sarah's technical assessment aligned perfectly with my own analysis. Marcus was optimizing for short-term financial metrics, rather than long-term technological leadership. His focus on standardizing operations and reducing development costs would gradually erode the innovation that made StreamlineAI special. Within 2 years, the company would become indistinguishable from dozens of other business automation platforms, competing primarily on price rather than capability. What if we could build something completely new? I asked Sarah, describing my vision for adaptive intelligence architecture. Her eyes lit up as I explained the technical breakthroughs I had been developing independently. Sarah immediately grasped the implications. We could create AI that was not just better than StreamlineAI but fundamentally different from anything else in the market. Sarah's decision to join my new venture was motivated by more than just professional frustration. She believed that artificial intelligence should genuinely help people rather than just generate revenue for investors. Her experience working with our small business customers had shown her how transformative the right technology could be for family-owned restaurants, local retailers, and service providers who struggled to compete with larger companies. Marcus's corporate approach would gradually shift focus toward larger enterprise customers who could pay higher fees,
abandoning the market segment that needed AI solutions most desperately. The second critical recruit was Bob Wilson, whose financial expertise and operational experience would be essential for building a sustainable business. Bob had spent 20 years in technology finance, including senior positions at Apple and Google before joining StreamlineAI as our chief financial officer.
His decision to work for a small startup had surprised many people in his network, but Bob was motivated by the opportunity to help build something meaningful, rather than just optimize an existing corporate machine. Bob's concerns about Marcus's strategic direction were different from Sarah's, but equally significant. Marcus was pushing for aggressive expansion into new markets without adequate financial planning or risk management. He wanted to hire additional sales staff and marketing specialists before proving that our current approach could scale profitably. Bob had seen this pattern at other startups, premature scaling driven by investor pressure that led to cash flow problems and operational chaos. Marcus thinks growth solves all problems, Bob explained during our meeting at Elevation 5280, a restaurant with panoramic views of downtown Denver. But sustainable growth requires understanding your unit economics and customer acquisition costs. We're spending money faster than we're generating value, and Marcus doesn't seem concerned about the fundamentals. Bob's financial analysis revealed vulnerabilities in StreamlineAI's business model that Marcus and Jessica either didn't understand or chose to ignore. Customer acquisition costs were rising as we expanded beyond our initial network of referrals and word-of-mouth marketing. Customer lifetime value was declining as we attracted businesses that were less committed to implementing AI solutions effectively. The metrics looked impressive on a surface level, but the underlying economics suggested that rapid expansion would be unsustainable without significant operational improvements. Bob's willingness to join my new company was driven by both professional and personal consideration. He had invested significant time and energy in helping StreamlineAI succeed, and Marcus's leadership approach was undermining everything Bob had helped build. More importantly, Bob believed that small businesses deserved access to sophisticated technology that could help them compete more effectively. His own father had owned a small manufacturing company that struggled with inventory management and customer service challenges that modern AI could solve easily. I want to build a company that actually serves the customers it claims to help, Bob told me as we shook hands on our partnership. Marcus is optimizing for investor returns, which means optimizing for the wrong things. If we focus on customer success and operational efficiency, the financial returns will follow naturally. The master strategy that emerged from these initial conversations was both simple and comprehensive. Instead of trying to compete directly with StreamlineAI in their existing market, we would leapfrog their technology and capture the opportunities they were leaving behind. My adaptive intelligence architecture would allow us to serve customers that StreamlineAI couldn't reach effectively. Smaller businesses, more complex operations, and industries that required specialized knowledge. Our competitive advantage would come from three key differentiators. First, our technology would be genuinely easier to implement and maintain, reducing the barriers that prevented many small businesses from adopting AI solutions. Second, our pricing model would be more transparent and affordable, eliminating the complex fee structures that made it difficult for customers to understand their total cost. Third, our customer service approach would prioritize education and support rather than just technical troubleshooting, helping businesses maximize the value they derived from our platform. The financial strategy Bob developed was designed to avoid the mistakes that Marcus was making with StreamlineAI. We would bootstrap initial development using my savings and early revenue, avoiding the pressure to scale prematurely that comes with large venture capital investment. We would focus on customer satisfaction and retention rather than raw acquisition numbers, building a sustainable business model that could support long-term growth. We would maintain lean operations and efficient development processes, proving our unit economics before expanding into new markets or hiring additional staff. Our go-to-market strategy would leverage the relationships and knowledge I had developed during 3 years of building StreamlineAI. We would target specific customer segments where our technology offered clear advantages over existing solutions. We would prioritize industries and business types where I had proven experience and established credibility. We would focus on geographic markets where we could provide hands-on support and build strong local reputations before expanding nationally. The technology development roadmap Sarah created was ambitious but achievable. We would start by building a minimum viable product that demonstrated our adaptive intelligence capabilities with a small number of pilot customers. We would iterate rapidly based on real-world feedback, improving both the underlying algorithms and the user experience. We would develop industry-specific features that addressed the unique needs of restaurants, retail stores, service providers, and other small business categories. Within 12 months, we would have a platform that was demonstrably superior to StreamlineAI in every meaningful category. Perhaps most importantly, our strategy included specific plans for defending against competitive responses from Marcus and Jessica. We anticipated that StreamlineAI would try to copy our innovations once they realized the threat we represent. We would protect our intellectual property through patents and trade secrets, but our primary defense would be speed of execution and depth of customer relationship. By the time StreamlineAI understood what we were building, we would already be serving customers they couldn't reach and solving problems they couldn't address. The psychological aspect of our strategy was equally important. Marcus had underestimated me once, assuming that removing me from StreamlineAI would eliminate the competitive threat I represented. This overconfidence would be his greatest weakness, causing him to dismiss our new company until it was too late to respond effectively. Jessica's guilt about betraying our partnership would create internal conflicts that would slow their decision-making and reduce their operational effectiveness. Their focus on defending their position would distract them from the innovation and customer service that had made StreamlineAI successful originally. As we finalized our strategic framework, David Rodriguez offered to make introductions to potential customers who were frustrated with current AI solutions or had been waiting for better options to become available. These early adopters would provide essential feedback for refining our technology and would serve as reference customers for future sales efforts. More importantly, they would generate the initial revenue that would prove our business model was viable and sustainable. The opening moves of our campaign began with the most basic but essential step, incorporating our new company and establishing the legal and financial infrastructure needed to compete effectively. We chose the name Velocity Tech to emphasize our focus on speed and efficiency, qualities that would differentiate us clearly from StreamlineAI's increasingly bureaucratic approach. The incorporation process included intellectual property protections for my adaptive intelligence algorithms and employment agreements that would prevent our key team members from being poached by competitors. Our first office space was a converted warehouse in Denver's River North Arts District, an area that had become popular with creative professionals and technology startups. The space offered the flexibility and character we wanted, while keeping our overhead costs manageable during the early stages of development. Unlike StreamlineAI's increasingly corporate environment, Velocity Tech would maintain the collaborative, innovative culture that had made our original team so effective. The initial product development cycle moved faster than any of us had anticipated. Sarah's technical expertise, combined with my algorithmic innovations and Bob's operational guidance, created a development environment that was both highly productive and carefully managed. We established development processes that balanced speed with quality, allowing us to iterate rapidly while maintaining the reliability that business customers require. Our first pilot customer was Maria Gonzalez, whose food truck business had been using StreamlineAI for inventory management and customer service automation. Maria had always been enthusiastic about our technology, but she had expressed frustration with the setup complexity and ongoing maintenance requirements. When I explained our new adaptive intelligence approach, Maria immediately agreed to test our early prototype in exchange for detailed feedback about her experience. The results exceeded our most optimistic projection. Our adaptive AI system analyzed Maria's business operations for 3 days and automatically configured itself to optimize ordering, scheduling, and customer interaction process. Within a week, Maria reported that her operational efficiency had improved by 35% compared to her previous AI setup, and the system required virtually no manual adjustment or technical support. Most importantly, the AI had identified optimization opportunities that her previous system had missed entirely, generating additional revenue that more than covered our service fee. Maria's success story became our first case study and reference customer, demonstrating that our technology delivered measurable results in real-world conditions. Her testimonial was particularly valuable because she had direct experience with StreamlineAI and could articulate the specific advantages our new approach offers. Maria's enthusiasm about our platform was genuine and infectious, making her an ideal advocate for potential customers who were considering AI solutions for their own businesses. The cascade effect began earlier than we had expected. Within 6 weeks of launching Velocity Tech, we had signed 12 pilot customers, including several former StreamlineAI clients who had heard about our new company through word-of-mouth referral. Our customer acquisition costs were negligible because satisfied customers were actively recommending our services to their business networks. Customer retention rates were perfect because our technology actually delivered the results that customers expected from AI automation. Meanwhile, StreamlineAI was beginning to experience operational problems that Marcus and Jessica were struggling to address. Customer service complaints were increasing as their technical support team, led by new hires rather than experienced staff, failed to resolve implementation issues effectively. Several large sales prospects had delayed their decisions after demanding product demonstrations that revealed limitations in StreamlineAI's current platform. Most significantly, customer renewal rates were declining as businesses reevaluated whether their AI investments were generating adequate returns. The competitive landscape was shifting in ways that Marcus had not anticipated. His focus on enterprise sales and corporate customers had diverted attention from the small business market where StreamlineAI had originally established its reputation. Larger competitors like Salesforce and HubSpot were beginning to offer AI features that served enterprise needs more effectively than StreamlineAI's platform. Meanwhile, Velocity Tech was capturing market share in the small business segment by offering technology that was specifically designed for their requirements. Industry analysts and technology journalists were starting to notice the changes in market dynamics. Articles appeared in trade publications questioning whether StreamlineAI could maintain its competitive position as larger companies invested in artificial intelligence capability. Several pieces mentioned Velocity Tech as an emerging player to watch, particularly noting our focus on accessibility and customer success, rather than just technical sophistication. The financial metrics told an even more compelling story. Velocity Tech's customer acquisition costs were less than half of StreamlineAI's current levels, and our customer lifetime value projections were significantly higher because of improved retention rates and expansion opportunity. Our development costs were lower because we avoided the bureaucratic overhead and inefficient processes that Marcus had implemented. Our operational expenses were minimal because our adaptive technology required less customer support and manual intervention. Bob's financial projections showed that Velocity Tech would reach profitability within 8 months, compared to StreamlineAI's current trajectory toward increasing losses despite growing revenue. Our unit economics were fundamentally sound because we had designed our business model around customer success rather than rapid scaling. Every new customer strengthened our competitive position rather than diluting our resources or compromising our service quality. Sarah's technical roadmap was progressing ahead of schedule as our adaptive intelligence algorithms improved through real-world usage. Each new customer deployment generated data that enhanced our AI's capabilities, creating a virtuous cycle of continuous improvement. Our technology was becoming smarter and more effective faster than we had anticipated, widening the gap between our capabilities and those of traditional AI platforms. The desperation phase arrived when Marcus realized that Velocity Tech represented a genuine existential threat to StreamlineAI's future. Industry reports and customer feedback had made it clear that our technology was superior to anything else in the small business AI market. Several of StreamlineAI's largest customers had indicated that they were considering switching to Velocity Tech when their current contracts expired. Most alarmingly, Marcus's attempts to recruit experienced AI developers had been unsuccessful because top talent was more interested in joining innovative companies than defending legacy platforms. Marcus's response revealed the strategic limitations that had made his takeover of StreamlineAI's ultimately self-defeating. Instead of focusing on innovation and customer service, He doubled down on sales and marketing tactics that addressed symptoms rather than underlying problems. StreamlineAI increased their advertising spending and hired additional sales representatives, but these measures couldn't overcome the fundamental reality that their technology was becoming obsolete. Jessica's position became increasingly untenable as StreamlineAI's problems mounted. The board meetings that had once focused on growth strategies now centered on damage control and competitive responses. Customer complaints were escalating to executive levels, requiring Jessica to spend significant time on issues that had rarely occurred when I was leading the company's technical direction. The stress of managing a declining business while dealing with the guilt of betraying our partnership was clearly affecting her decision-making capability. The industry speculation about StreamlineAI's future intensified when several technology blogs published detailed comparisons between their platform and Velocity Tech's adaptive intelligence system. The analyses were uniformly favorable to our new company, highlighting not just technical superiority but also superior customer service and more transparent pricing. One influential reviewer described Velocity Tech as what StreamlineAI should have become if it had remained focused on innovation rather than corporate politics. Marcus's attempts to discredit Velocity Tech through industry channels backfired spectacularly when several prominent investors and advisors publicly defended our company and criticized StreamlineAI's recent strategic decisions. David Rodriguez's reputation and network provided credibility that protected us from Marcus's influence campaigns. More importantly, our customer results spoke for themselves. Businesses using Velocity Tech were achieving measurably better outcomes than those using competing platforms. The surrender moment came in the form of a phone call from Jessica at 11:15 on a Thursday night. Her voice was strained and exhausted, carrying none of the confidence that had characterized her communications since Marcus's takeover. "Alex, we need to talk. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? It's important." I let the request hang in the air for several seconds before responding. 6 months earlier, I would have immediately agreed to help Jessica with whatever crisis she was facing. But our relationship had been fundamentally altered by her betrayal, and I had learned to evaluate every interaction through the lens of strategic advantage rather than personal loyalty. "What do you want to discuss?" I asked, though I already suspected the nature of her request. "The situation between our companies," Jessica replied carefully. "We think there might be opportunities for collaboration that could benefit everyone involved." The word collaboration was a euphemism that barely concealed the desperation behind her call. StreamlineAI was losing customers, bleeding money, and facing competitive pressures they couldn't address with their current technology and leadership. Marcus and Jessica had finally realized that removing me from the company had eliminated their primary source of innovation and customer relationships. We met at Brew Bytes, the coffee shop where Jessica and I had once planned StreamlineAI's future together. The irony of the location was not lost on either of us, but the conversation felt like a negotiation between strangers rather than a reunion between former partners. Jessica looked tired and stressed, her usual professional confidence replaced by obvious anxiety about StreamlineAI's deteriorating position. "Marcus asked me to explore potential partnership opportunities," Jessica began, avoiding direct eye contact. "We're impressed by what you've built with Velocity Tech, and we think there might be ways our companies could work together instead of competing directly." I listened without responding, letting Jessica reveal the full extent of StreamlineAI's problems and the desperate measures they were considering. Their customer renewal rates had dropped to 70%, compared to Velocity Tech's retention rate of 96%. Several major prospects had chosen Velocity Tech over StreamlineAI after conducting detailed technology evaluations. Most critically, their development team was struggling to implement improvements that could address the competitive gap they now faced. "What kind of partnership did you have in mind?" I asked, though I was more interested in understanding the depth of their desperation than seriously considering any collaboration. Jessica outlined several scenarios that essentially involved Velocity Tech providing technology or expertise to help StreamlineAI compete more effectively. The proposals ranged from licensing agreements to joint development projects to potential acquisition discussions. Each option revealed how completely Marcus and Jessica had misunderstood their strategic position, and my motivations for building a competing company. Why would I help Streamline AI? I asked directly. You removed me from the company I built because you thought you could succeed without me. Now that you're failing, you want my assistance. Jessica's response confirmed that she still didn't grasp the fundamental principles that had guided my decision to compete with them rather than accept their subordinate role. This isn't personal, Alex. It's about creating value for customers and shareholders. Our companies could accomplish more together than separately, but it was personal, and Jessica's inability to acknowledge that fact demonstrated why any partnership between our companies was impossible. They had betrayed my trust and stolen my work not because of strategic considerations or market dynamics, but because Marcus had convinced Jessica that I was expendable and replaceable. Now they wanted me to help them salvage the company they had ruined through their arrogance and incompetence. I'm going to decline your partnership proposals, I told Jessica as I prepared to leave our meeting. Velocity Tech will continue operating independently, and we'll let the market determine which approach serves customers more effectively. The decisive victory came not through a dramatic confrontation or hostile takeover, but through the gradual recognition that Velocity Tech had fundamentally transformed the competitive landscape in ways that made Streamline AI's position untenable. By the end of our first year of operation, we had captured 38% of the small business AI market in Colorado and were expanding into adjacent states. Our technology was demonstrably superior, our customer satisfaction rates were unprecedented, and our financial performance was exceeding all projections. Streamline AI's decline accelerated as their problems compounded and their responses proved inadequate. Customer defections continued despite price reductions and enhanced support packages. Development efforts to match Velocity Tech's adaptive intelligence capabilities stalled because Marcus had underinvested in technical talent and research. Their cash flow became increasingly strained as revenue declined while operational costs remained high due to inefficient processes and organizational overhead. The technology industry press chronicled Streamline AI's fall from prominence, with detailed analyses of the strategic mistakes that had led to their competitive disadvantage. Several articles identified Marcus's removal of the company's founder and technical leader as the critical decision that had triggered their decline. Industry experts cited Streamline AI as a cautionary example of how investor control could destroy the innovation and customer focus that made technology companies successful. Marcus's final attempt to salvage Streamline AI involved approaching Velocity Tech with acquisition proposals that revealed how completely his understanding of our respective positions had diverged from reality. He suggested that Streamline AI could acquire Velocity Tech's technology and team, allowing us to benefit from their established customer base and operational infrastructure. The offer demonstrated that Marcus still believed his corporate experience and financial resources were more valuable than technical innovation and customer relationships. I rejected Marcus's acquisition overtures without serious consideration, but I did make a counter-proposal that reflected the complete reversal in our competitive position. Velocity Tech would be interested in acquiring Streamline AI's customer contracts and certain operational assets, though we would need significant discounts to account for the integration costs and customer retention risks involved. The proposal was designed more to demonstrate our market dominance than to seriously pursue a transaction. The new order that emerged from this competitive battle established Velocity Tech as the leading provider of artificial intelligence solutions for small businesses throughout the Mountain West region. Our success attracted attention from national investors and potential acquisition partners, but we remained focused on organic growth and customer service rather than pursuing rapid scaling through external capital. The principles that had guided our founding, innovation, customer focus, and operational efficiency, continued to drive our strategic decisions as we expanded our market reach and technological capability. Streamline AI eventually ceased operations 18 months after Marcus's takeover, unable to compete effectively against Velocity Tech and other emerging competitors who had learned from their mistakes. Jessica transitioned to a consulting role with a larger technology company,
while Marcus returned to traditional venture capital activities with a significantly diminished reputation in Denver's startup community. The collapse of StreamlineAI served as a powerful reminder that sustainable competitive advantage comes from genuine value creation rather than financial engineering or corporate maneuver. My relationship with the small business community that had originally inspired StreamlineAI's creation became stronger than ever through Velocity Tech's. Maria Gonzalez's food truck business continued to thrive with our adaptive AI platform, and she frequently spoke at industry conferences about the transformative impact of accessible artificial intelligence technology. Dozens of other small business owners shared similar success stories, demonstrating that our focus on customer outcomes rather than investor returns had created genuine value for the people we intended to serve. The personal satisfaction of proving Marcus and Jessica wrong was ultimately less important than the broader impact Velocity Tech achieved in democratizing artificial intelligence for small businesses. We had demonstrated that innovative technology, when combined with customer-focused leadership and efficient operations, could succeed against well-funded competitors who prioritized financial metrics over value creation. The victory was not just mine but belonged to every small business owner who had benefited from our platform and every team member who had contributed to our success. Looking back on the entire experience, I realized that Marcus's betrayal had actually accelerated my professional and personal development in ways that would not have occurred if I had remained with StreamlineAI. Building Velocity Tech from scratch had required me to develop skills in leadership, strategy, and market development that complemented my technical expertise. The competitive pressure had forced me to innovate faster and more effectively than I would have in a comfortable corporate environment. The lessons learned from this experience extended far beyond the specific details of artificial intelligence platforms or small business automation. Trust, once broken, could never be fully restored, but new relationships built on mutual respect and shared values could be even stronger than partnerships based on history or convenience. Innovation and customer focus would always triumph over corporate politics and financial manipulation in markets where customers had choices. Most importantly, the greatest competitive advantage any entrepreneur could possess was the determination to prove that their vision of the future was not just possible but inevitable. The momentum Velocity Tech had built throughout our first year accelerated exponentially as we entered our second year of operation. What had started as a small team of passionate developers and business professionals had evolved into a legitimate market force that competitors could no longer ignore. Our adaptive AI platform was processing data for over 300 small businesses across 5 states, generating millions of optimization recommendations daily and delivering measurable results that exceeded our most ambitious projections. The transformation in our customer base reflected the broader impact our technology was having on small business operations. Tommy Rodriguez had used our platform to optimize his family's landscaping business in Fort Collins, reducing operating costs by 42% while increasing customer satisfaction scores to levels that attracted attention from national franchise organizations. Linda Chen's boutique clothing store in Boulder had integrated our AI with her inventory management system, enabling her to predict seasonal trends with 93% accuracy and reduce waste from unsold merchandise by over 60%. These success stories were not isolated incidents, but representative of a systematic improvement in how small businesses could leverage artificial intelligence to compete with larger corporations. Our adaptive algorithms had learned to identify patterns and opportunities that human operators would miss, while maintaining the simplicity and accessibility that made implementation feasible for business owners without technical background. The compound effect of these improvements was creating a new category of AI-enabled small businesses that operated with efficiency levels previously reserved for much larger organizations. The financial performance metrics that Bob Wilson tracked monthly demonstrated that Velocity Tech had achieved something remarkable in the technology industry: profitable growth that was both rapid and sustainable. Our customer acquisition costs had decreased steadily as word-of-mouth referrals became our primary source of new business.
Customer lifetime value continued increasing as businesses discovered additional applications for our platform and expanded their usage beyond initial implementations. Most importantly, our churn rate remained below 4%, indicating that customers who adopted our technology were achieving genuine value and had no reason to consider alternatives. Sarah Kim's development team had expanded to 12 engineers, each specializing in different aspects of our adaptive intelligence architecture. The technical challenges we faced were no longer about proving our algorithms worked, but about scaling our infrastructure to handle exponential growth while maintaining the performance standards that had established our reputation. Sarah had implemented development processes that allowed us to deploy new features weekly while maintaining the reliability that business customers required for their daily operations. The intellectual property portfolio we had developed around our adaptive AI technology represented a significant competitive moat that would be difficult for rivals to circumvent. Sarah had filed provisional patents covering 17 different algorithmic innovations, while our legal team was preparing comprehensive patent applications that would protect our core technological advantages for years to come. More importantly, the continuous learning capabilities of our AI meant that our competitive advantage was growing stronger with each new customer deployment, creating barriers to entry that became higher over time rather than lower. The geographic expansion strategy Bob had developed was methodical and data-driven, focusing on markets where we could replicate the success we had achieved in Colorado. Our analysis identified cities with strong small business communities, supportive technology infrastructure, and limited competition from established AI platforms. Austin, Portland, Salt Lake City, and Phoenix emerged as priority markets where Velocity Tech could establish footholds before larger competitors recognized the opportunities we were pursuing. The Austin expansion proved particularly successful because the city's entrepreneurial culture and technology ecosystem provided an ideal environment for innovative AI applications. Within 6 months of entering the Texas market, we had signed 97 customers ranging from food trucks to professional services firms to local manufacturing companies. The diversity of our customer base demonstrated that our adaptive intelligence platform could generate value across industries rather than being limited to specific business categories. Our Portland operations revealed new applications for AI technology that we had not anticipated during our initial development phases. The city's emphasis on sustainability and environmental responsibility led several customers to use our platform for optimizing energy consumption, waste reduction, and supply chain efficiency. These use cases expanded our understanding of how artificial intelligence could address broader social and environmental challenges while delivering financial benefits to business owners. David Rodriguez's network of investors and advisors had been monitoring Velocity Tech's progress with increasing interest as our growth metrics and customer testimonials validated the market opportunity we had identified. Several prominent venture capital firms had approached us about potential investment rounds, but we had maintained our commitment to organic growth and customer-funded expansion. The financial independence we had achieved by avoiding external investment pressure allowed us to focus on long-term value creation rather than short-term metrics that satisfied investor expectations. The competitive landscape analysis that our business development team conducted quarterly showed that Velocity Tech had fundamentally altered the dynamics of the small business AI market. Traditional enterprise-focused platforms like Salesforce and Microsoft were struggling to adapt their solutions for smaller customers, while newer startups lacked the technical sophistication and customer relationships that had taken us years to develop. Most significantly, several formerly successful companies had abandoned the small business AI market entirely, recognizing that Velocity Tech's advantages were too substantial to overcome through conventional competitive strategy. StreamlineAI's continued decline served as a cautionary tale that industry observers cited when discussing the importance of retaining technical leadership and maintaining customer focus. Marcus Chen's attempts to rebuild the company's competitive position had failed repeatedly, as each new initiative revealed fundamental limitations in their technology platform and organizational capability. The customer defections from StreamlineAI to Velocity Tech had accelerated throughout the year, with many businesses citing superior performance, better support, and more transparent pricing as primary factors in their switching decision. The technology press coverage of our industry had shifted from treating Velocity Tech as an interesting startup to recognizing us as the dominant platform in our market segment. TechCrunch published a comprehensive analysis of the small business AI sector that positioned Velocity Tech as the clear leader in innovation, customer satisfaction, and market share. The article quoted several industry analysts who predicted that our approach to adaptive artificial intelligence would become the standard that other companies would attempt to replicate. The employee culture we had cultivated at Velocity Tech reflected the values and principles that had motivated our founding but had evolved to accommodate our growth and increased responsibility. New team members were selected not just for their technical skills or business experience, but for their commitment to helping small businesses succeed and their ability to work collaboratively in our fast-paced environment. The retention rate among our employees exceeded 95%, creating institutional knowledge and team cohesion that accelerated our development capability. The customer advisory board we established during our second year provided valuable feedback for guiding our product development priorities and expansion strategy. Representatives from different industries and geographic markets met quarterly to share their experiences with our platform and suggest improvements or new features that would benefit their operation. This direct customer input ensured that our technology evolution remained aligned with real-world business needs, rather than theoretical capabilities that looked impressive but provided limited practical value. The partnership opportunities that emerged as Velocity Tech's reputation grew included collaboration proposals from hardware manufacturers, software integrators, and consulting firms who wanted to incorporate our AI platform into their service offering. We evaluated these relationships carefully, focusing on partnerships that would expand our market reach without compromising our customer relationships or technological independence. Several strategic alliances with point-of-sale system providers and business management software companies created new distribution channels that accelerated our customer acquisition effort. The international expansion possibilities that David Rodriguez's network had identified included opportunities in Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia, where regulatory environments and business cultures were compatible with our platform approach. The small business AI markets in these countries were less developed than in the United States, potentially allowing Velocity Tech to establish dominant positions before local competitors emerged. However, we remained focused on solidifying our domestic market leadership before pursuing international opportunities that would require additional resources and management attention. The academic recognition our work received included invitations for Sarah Kim to present our adaptive intelligence research at major artificial intelligence conferences and universities. The technical papers she published describing our algorithmic innovations generated significant interest from the research community and helped establish Velocity Tech's reputation as a technology innovator rather than just a successful business. This academic credibility attracted talented engineers and data scientists who were excited about working on cutting-edge AI problems with real-world application. The policy implications of our success had begun attracting attention from government officials and economic development organizations who recognized that accessible AI technology could strengthen small business competitiveness and economic resilience. Several state governments had initiated programs to help small businesses adopt AI solutions, with Velocity Tech frequently recommended as a preferred platform due to our track record of successful implementations and customer support. The social impact of our technology extended beyond individual business success stories to broader economic effects in the communities where our customers operated. Small businesses using Velocity Tech's platform were able to compete more effectively with larger chains and online retailers, helping to preserve local economic diversity and community character. The efficiency improvements our AI delivered allowed business owners to focus more time on customer service, product development, and community engagement rather than routine operational tasks. The environmental benefits of our platform reflected the optimization capabilities that helped customers reduce waste, energy consumption, and unnecessary transportation. Restaurant customers had reduced food waste by an average of 31% by using our predictive analytics for inventory management. Retail customers had decreased their carbon footprints by optimizing delivery routes and reducing excess inventory. These environmental improvements were secondary benefits of efficiency optimization, but they aligned with growing consumer expectations for businesses to operate sustainably. The financial milestone that marked our transition from startup to established company came when Velocity Tech achieved $10 million in annual recurring revenue, with projections showing continued growth at rates exceeding 50% annual. Bob Wilson's analysis indicated that we had captured approximately 12% of our addressable market, with significant opportunities for expansion through geographic growth, industry specialization, and platform enhancement. The strategic inflection point arrived when Marcus Chen contacted David Rodriguez directly, requesting a meeting to discuss potential acquisition of Velocity Tech by a consortium of investors who could provide the capital needed for rapid national expansion. The proposal revealed that Marcus had finally acknowledged StreamlineAI's competitive disadvantage was insurmountable and was attempting to regain relevance by associating himself with our success. David's conversation with Marcus lasted less than 15 minutes, with David making it clear that Velocity Tech had no interest in any involvement with Marcus or his investment group. The discussion revealed that StreamlineAI was facing bankruptcy within 6 months unless they could secure additional funding or find an acquisition partner willing to assume their debts and obligations. Marcus's desperation had led him to approach the very people whose success had made his own failure inevitable. The vindication I felt hearing about Marcus's situation was tempered by my focus on Velocity Tech's continued growth and the responsibility I felt toward our customers and employees. The personal satisfaction of proving Marcus wrong had been replaced by larger goals, focused on democratizing artificial intelligence and helping small businesses thrive in an increasingly competitive economy. The battle with StreamlineAI had been won decisively, but the mission that had originally motivated me to start a company remained as important as ever. The industry recognition that culminated our second year included Velocity Tech being named Small Business AI Platform of the Year by the Technology Innovation Awards, with me receiving recognition as Entrepreneur of the Year from the Denver Business Journal. These honors reflected not just our commercial success, but the broader impact our technology was having on small business communities throughout our operating region. The team celebration we held at our expanded offices in the Rhino District brought together employees, customers, advisors, and community partners who had contributed to our success. Maria Gonzalez spoke about how our platform had enabled her to expand from 1 food truck to 3, creating jobs for 12 people and becoming a fixture at Denver's largest festivals and events. Tommy Rodriguez described how our AI had helped his landscaping business win contracts with major commercial clients by demonstrating efficiency and reliability that larger competitors couldn't match. The future vision that Sarah Kim presented during our celebration outlined technological developments that would maintain Velocity Tech's competitive advantages while expanding our capabilities into new areas. Machine learning advances would enable our platform to provide predictive insights and strategic recommendations that went beyond operational optimization. Integration with emerging technologies like augmented reality and Internet of Things devices would create new possibilities for how small businesses could leverage artificial intelligence. The succession planning and organizational development initiatives Bob Wilson had implemented ensured that Velocity Tech's growth would not be constrained by dependence on any individual leader or team member. Cross-training programs, documentation standards, and leadership development activities were building institutional capabilities that could support continued expansion regardless of personnel changes. The company we had built was becoming larger than the personalities who had founded it. The customer success metrics that validated our impact included businesses that had achieved revenue growth exceeding 30% annually after implementing our platform. Customer satisfaction scores averaged 4, with most complaints focused on feature requests rather than performance issues. The testimonials and case studies we collected demonstrated that our technology was delivering transformational value rather than incremental improvement. The competitive response from traditional enterprise software companies included several attempts to develop small business AI platforms that could compete with Velocity Tech. However, these initiatives suffered from the same fundamental limitations that had constrained their previous efforts. Enterprise-focused companies struggled to understand small business needs, their development cycles were too slow to match our innovation pace, and their cost structures made it difficult to offer competitive pricing for smaller customers. The acquisition interest we received from larger technology companies reflected recognition that Velocity Tech had established a defensible market position that would be difficult to replicate through internal development. However, our commitment to maintaining independence and customer focus made these opportunities unattractive compared to continued organic growth. The financial projections showed that our current trajectory would generate significantly more value for stakeholders than any near-term acquisition premium. The legacy that Velocity Tech was creating extended beyond our immediate business success to influence how the technology industry approached artificial intelligence development and deployment. Our focus on accessibility, customer success, and practical value creation was being emulated by other companies who recognized that sustainable competitive advantages came from genuine problem solving rather than technological complexity for its own sake. The personal transformation I had experienced throughout this journey reflected lessons that extended far beyond business strategy or technology development. The betrayal that had initially devastated me had ultimately accelerated my growth as a leader, innovator, and entrepreneur. The skills I had developed competing against StreamlineAI had prepared me for challenges and opportunities that would have been inconceivable when I was operating within the constraints of Marcus's corporate structure. The relationships that had sustained Velocity Tech's success were built on mutual respect, shared values, and commitment to outcomes that benefited all stakeholders. Unlike the transactional partnerships that had characterized Marcus's approach to business, our team dynamics and customer relationships were based on genuine care for each other's success and well-being. This foundation had proven far more durable and effective than arrangements based purely on financial incentives. The innovation culture we had established continued generating breakthrough technologies and creative solutions that maintained our competitive leadership. The freedom to experiment, fail quickly, and iterate based on customer feedback had produced capabilities that more resource-rich competitors couldn't match despite their advantages in funding and personnel. The entrepreneurial mindset that had enabled our initial success remained central to our operations, even as we grew larger and more complex. The market education efforts we had undertaken helped establish artificial intelligence as a viable and necessary tool for small business competitiveness, rather than an exotic technology reserved for large corporations. Our thought leadership through industry publications, conference presentations, and customer success stories had elevated expectations for what AI platforms should deliver and how they should be implemented. The entire small business AI market had been improved by Velocity Tech's demonstration that sophisticated technology could be made accessible and affordable. The economic impact of our success rippled throughout Denver's technology ecosystem as our growth attracted attention from investors, entrepreneurs, and established companies who recognized the opportunities available in our market. Several new startups had been founded by former Velocity Tech employees who applied our principles and approaches to different industry sectors or customer segments. The talent and expertise we had developed was contributing to broader innovation and economic development beyond our immediate business interests. The final chapter of our competition with StreamlineAI concluded when the company announced its closure and liquidation of assets, 6 months ahead of Marcus's most optimistic projection. The business press coverage of StreamlineAI's failure focused on strategic mistakes, leadership problems, and competitive pressures that had made their position untenable. Industry analysts cited the company as a cautionary example of how investor control could destroy the innovation and customer relationships that made technology companies valuable. The auction of StreamlineAI's remaining assets provided an opportunity for Velocity Tech to acquire customer contracts, intellectual property, and operational resources at significant discounts to their original value. However, we approached these opportunities selectively, focusing on assets that would enhance our capabilities without compromising our culture or customer relationship. The irony of acquiring pieces of the company that had once attempted to eliminate Mo is not lost on anyone involved in the transaction. The customer migration from StreamlineAI to Velocity Tech proceeded smoothly as our support team worked with businesses to transfer their data and configure our platform for their specific needs. Many of these customers reported that the transition had improved their operations beyond what they had experienced with their previous AI platform. The positive outcomes from these migrations generated additional referrals and testimonials that accelerated our growth in markets where StreamlineAI had previously maintained customer relationships. The closure of StreamlineAI eliminated our most direct competitor while validating the strategic decisions that had enabled Velocity Tech's success. The market consolidation created opportunities for continued expansion into territories and customer segments that had previously been contested. Our technology leadership, customer focus, and operational efficiency had proven superior to the corporate maneuvering and financial engineering that Marcus had believed would determine competitive outcomes.
The triumph was complete, but it had evolved beyond personal vindication to represent validation of principles and approaches that could benefit countless small businesses and technology entrepreneurs. The victory belonged not just to me, but to everyone who believed that innovation and customer focus would ultimately prevail over corporate politics and financial manipulation. The battle that had begun with betrayal and injustice had concluded with the establishment of a company and culture that embodied the values I had always believed were essential for sustainable success. The new reality that emerged from this experience positioned Velocity Tech as the dominant platform in our market while establishing a foundation for continued growth and innovation. The company had transcended its origins as a response to competitive pressure to become a positive force for small business empowerment and technological democratization. The mission that had motivated our founding was being fulfilled on a scale that exceeded our original ambitions, creating value for customers, employees, investors, and communities throughout our operating region. The satisfaction of achieving total victory was enhanced by the knowledge that our success had been earned through superior execution rather than external advantages or favorable circumstance. Every milestone we had reached reflected the talent, dedication, and creativity of team members who had chosen to join our mission despite the risks and uncertainties inherent in competing against established players. The confidence that permeated our organization was based on proven capabilities rather than wishful thinking or market speculation. The future that lay ahead promised continued opportunities to extend Velocity Tech's impact while maintaining the principles that had enabled our success. The artificial intelligence market was still evolving rapidly, creating new possibilities for innovation and customer service that would require the same entrepreneurial mindset and customer focus that had carried us through our competitive battle. The foundation we had built was strong enough to support whatever challenges and opportunities awaited us in the years to come. 3 years after that devastating boardroom coup, I stood in the gleaming headquarters of Velocity Tech, watching through floor-to-ceiling windows as the Denver skyline sparkled in the morning sun. The building we now occupied was a testament to how completely the landscape had shifted. Where StreamlineAI had once commanded respect in the tech community, Velocity Tech had not only filled that void but expanded it exponentially. Our 14-story headquarters in downtown Denver housed over 400 employees, with satellite offices in 12 cities across North America. The transformation had been so complete that many newcomers to the industry didn't even remember StreamlineAI's existence. When business schools now taught case studies about artificial intelligence disruption, they used Velocity Tech as the primary example of how innovative technology and customer-centric leadership could create entirely new market categories. The Harvard Business Review had published a comprehensive analysis of our growth strategy, positioning our approach as a blueprint for how entrepreneurs could compete against established players with superior resources, but inferior vision. The morning ritual I had developed involved reviewing customer success metrics before our leadership team meetings. The dashboard on my computer displayed numbers that still felt surreal despite years of consistent growth. Velocity Tech now served over 15,000 small businesses across 47 states and 6 countries. Our adaptive AI platform processed over 10 million optimization decisions daily, generating an average efficiency improvement of 38% for new customers within their first month of implementation. The cumulative economic impact of these improvements exceeded $2 billion annually, representing real value creation for business owners who had previously struggled to compete with larger corporations. Sarah Kim had evolved from a talented developer into one of the industry's most respected chief technology officers. Her team of 75 engineers and data scientists continued pushing the boundaries of what artificial intelligence could accomplish for small businesses. The technology stack they had built was now 3 generations ahead of anything competitors offered, with machine learning capabilities that seemed almost magical to customers who remembered the complexity of traditional business software. Sarah's innovations had been recognized with patents in 17 countries and invitations to keynote at major international conferences.
The Research and Development Laboratory Sarah established had become a destination for top talent from major technology companies who wanted to work on problems that actually mattered to real people. Unlike the abstract challenges that occupied engineers at larger corporations, Velocity Tech's technical team could see immediate impacts from their work in the form of small businesses that thrived, families that achieved financial stability, and communities that retained their local economic character. The mission-driven culture we had cultivated attracted people who viewed their careers as opportunities to create positive change rather than just accumulate wealth. Bob Wilson's evolution from financial advisor to chief operating officer reflected the growth in complexity and sophistication that Velocity Tech had achieved. The company now managed relationships with over 300 strategic partners, processed payments exceeding $500 million annually, and maintained operations across multiple regulatory jurisdictions. Bob's systematic approach to scaling organizational capabilities had enabled us to grow rapidly without losing the agility and customer focus that had originally differentiated us from larger competitors. The financial metrics that Bob tracked monthly demonstrated that Velocity Tech had achieved something remarkable in the technology industry: profitability that increased with scale rather than diminishing due to operational complexity. Our gross margins had improved from 68% during our second year to 82% currently, as our AI platform became more efficient and our customer acquisition costs decreased through referral programs and brand recognition. The unit economics of our business model were so compelling that business schools used our financial statements as examples of ideal software company operation. The international expansion that had begun cautiously with pilot programs in Canada and the United Kingdom had accelerated beyond our most optimistic projection. European small businesses had embraced our platform enthusiastically, with adoption rates exceeding those we had experienced in domestic markets. The regulatory compliance challenges that had initially concerned us proved manageable, as our commitment to data privacy and security aligned well with international standards. Within 18 months, our international operations generated 30% of total revenue and showed potential for eventually becoming our largest market segment. The competitive landscape that had once featured multiple rivals attempting to replicate our success had consolidated into a handful of companies that served different market segments or geographic regions. Velocity Tech's technological leadership and customer loyalty had created barriers to entry that new competitors found insurmountable. Several well-funded startups had attempted to challenge our position using approaches that looked promising in venture capital presentations, but failed when confronted with the practical realities of serving diverse small business needs efficiently and profitably. The acquisition opportunities that regularly appeared on our strategic planning agenda included proposals from major technology companies who wanted to integrate our capabilities into their enterprise platform. However, the financial terms these companies offered reflected their failure to understand the true value of what Velocity Tech represented. Our platform was not just a collection of algorithms and customer contracts that could be absorbed into larger organizations. The culture, relationships, and institutional knowledge that drove our success would be impossible to maintain within corporate structures designed for different purposes and priorities. The strategic partnerships that had proven most valuable involved collaborations with companies that shared our commitment to empowering small businesses rather than extracting maximum value from them. Point-of-sale system manufacturers, accounting software providers, and business coaching organizations had integrated our AI capabilities into their offerings, creating distribution channels that accelerated our growth while maintaining customer relationships built on trust and mutual benefit. These partnerships demonstrated that sustainable competitive advantages came from alignment of values rather than just technical compatibility. The thought leadership platform that Velocity Tech had established influenced how the entire technology industry approached artificial intelligence development and deployment. The white papers, research studies, and industry reports we published quarterly were cited by academics, consultants, and other entrepreneurs who wanted to understand how AI could be made accessible and beneficial for smaller organizations. Our annual conference in Denver attracted over 5,000 attendees from around the world, making it one of the premier events for discussing practical applications of artificial intelligence in business environments. The corporate social responsibility initiatives that had grown organically from our mission now represented a significant component of Velocity Tech's identity and impact. Our AI for Good program provided free platform access to nonprofits, community organizations, and social enterprises that served underrepresented populations. The technical training programs we sponsored helped bridge digital divides by teaching small business owners how to leverage technology effectively regardless of their educational backgrounds or previous experience with automation systems. The economic development impact of Velocity Tech's success extended throughout Colorado and the other regions where we maintained significant operations. The high-paying jobs we created attracted talented professionals who might otherwise have relocated to traditional technology centers like Silicon Valley or Seattle. The supplier relationships we maintained with local service providers, from catering companies to construction firms, generated millions of dollars in economic activity that supported hundreds of additional jobs. The success stories of our customers inspired other entrepreneurs to start businesses in markets they might previously have considered too challenging or competitive. The environmental sustainability benefits of our platform reflected the optimization capabilities that helped customers reduce waste, energy consumption, and unnecessary resource utilization. Restaurant customers had decreased food waste by an average of 43% through predictive analytics that improved inventory management and demand forecasting. Transportation companies had reduced fuel consumption by optimizing delivery routes and maintenance schedules. Manufacturing businesses had minimized raw material waste through more accurate production planning and quality control systems. These improvements generated cost savings for customers while contributing to broader environmental protection efforts. The university partnerships that Sarah had established with computer science and business programs at major research institutions created pipelines for recruiting top talent while advancing the academic understanding of artificial intelligence applications. Graduate students working on Velocity Tech-sponsored research projects regularly published papers that contributed to the broader scientific knowledge base while solving practical problems that benefited our customers. These collaborations ensured that our company remained at the forefront of technological innovation while supporting the educational institutions that trained future technology leaders. The Customer Advisory Council that had evolved from informal feedback sessions into a formal governance structure provided ongoing guidance for our product development priorities and strategic decisions. Representatives from different industries, geographic markets, and business sizes met quarterly to share their experiences and suggest improvements that would benefit the broader customer community. This direct customer input ensured that our technology evolution remained aligned with real-world business needs, rather than theoretical capabilities that impressed engineers, but provided limited practical value. The succession planning and leadership development programs that Bob had implemented reflected our commitment to building an organization that could thrive beyond the involvement of any individual founder or executive. Cross-training initiatives, mentorship programs, and leadership rotation assignments were developing institutional capabilities that could support continued growth regardless of personnel changes. The company we had built was becoming larger and more resilient than the personalities who had initially guided its development. The innovation laboratory that had begun as Sarah's side project had evolved into a separate division that explored emerging technologies and their potential applications for small business automation. Augmented reality interfaces, blockchain-based supply chain tracking, and Internet of Things integration represented areas where Velocity Tech was conducting research that could define future generations of business intelligence platforms. The experimental projects generated intellectual property and competitive insights that maintained our technological leadership while creating options for future market expansion. The customer success stories that validated our impact had evolved from individual business improvements to broader community transformation. Entire downtown districts in smaller cities had experienced revitalization as local businesses used our platform to compete more effectively with national chains and online retail. Economic development organizations regularly cited Velocity Tech implementations as catalysts for entrepreneurship and small business growth in regions that had previously struggled with economic stagnation. The industry recognition that culminated with my selection as Entrepreneur of the Decade by the National Small Business Association reflected not just commercial success, but the broader impact our work had achieved. The award ceremony in Washington brought together small business owners from across the country who shared stories about how accessible artificial intelligence had transformed their operations and enabled them to pursue opportunities they had never considered possible. The media coverage of Velocity Tech's continued growth had shifted from treating us as an interesting startup story to recognizing our role as a transformative force in multiple industries. The documentary that CNN produced about the democratization of artificial intelligence featured extensive interviews with our customers and employees, demonstrating how technology innovation could create broadly shared benefits rather than concentrating advantages among a few large corporations. The positive coverage had elevated our brand recognition and attracted customers who might not have discovered our platform through traditional marketing channels. The speaking engagements and consulting opportunities that regularly came my way provided platforms for sharing the lessons learned during our competitive battle with StreamlineAI and the subsequent building of Velocity Tech. Business schools, entrepreneur organizations, and industry conferences sought perspectives on how determination, innovation, and customer focus could overcome resource disadvantages and established competition. These presentations allowed me to influence the next generation of business leaders, while reinforcing the values and principles that had guided our success. The personal relationships that had sustained Velocity Tech's development had deepened and evolved as our shared mission achieved results that exceeded our original ambition. David Rodriguez had become not just a mentor and advisor, but a close friend, whose wisdom and perspective continued guiding strategic decisions. The trust and mutual respect that characterized our working relationships with key employees, customers, and partners reflected the culture we had intentionally cultivated from our earliest days as a company. The family impact of Velocity Tech's success included my parents' ability to expand their restaurant business using the very technology that had originated from my observations of their operational challenge. The AI platform that helped manage their inventory, schedule staff, and analyze customer preferences had enabled them to open 2 additional locations, while maintaining the quality and personal service that had always defined their approach. The pride they expressed in their son's achievements was matched by the satisfaction of knowing that our technology was helping other family businesses achieve similar success. The philanthropic initiatives that had grown from Velocity Tech's financial success included scholarship programs for first-generation college students pursuing technology careers, grants for small business development in underserved communities, and support for organizations that promoted entrepreneurship among women and minorities. The foundation we established donated over $10 million annually to causes that aligned with our mission of economic empowerment and technological accessibility. The legacy considerations that increasingly occupied my strategic thinking involved ensuring that Velocity Tech's positive impact would continue expanding long after my direct involvement, and the institutional capabilities, cultural values, and technological foundations we had established were designed to support continued innovation and customer service, regardless of leadership changes or market evolution. The company we had built represented more than a successful business venture. It embodied principles and approaches that could influence how technology companies operated for decades to come. The market leadership position that Velocity Tech had achieved was validated by competitors who attempted to replicate our strategies and approaches rather than developing original alternatives. The business model, customer service standards, and technology architecture we had pioneered became industry benchmarks that other companies studied and emulated. However, the cultural elements and institutional knowledge that drove our success proved impossible to duplicate through superficial copying of our methods and practices. The technological roadmap that Sarah's team had developed projected continued innovation in areas that would maintain Velocity Tech's competitive advantages, while addressing emerging customer needs and market opportunities. Artificial intelligence capabilities that seemed revolutionary today would become standard features tomorrow, requiring continuous research and development investments that could only be sustained by companies with strong financial performance and clear strategic vision. The platform we had built provided a foundation for evolution that could adapt to changing technologies and customer requirements. The global impact potential that international expansion had revealed suggested that Velocity Tech's mission of democratizing artificial intelligence could benefit small businesses worldwide rather than being limited to North American markets. The challenges facing small business owners in developing economies were often more severe than those encountered in established markets, creating opportunities for our technology to generate even greater relative benefit. The scalability of our platform architecture made international growth financially attractive while advancing our social impact objective. The personal transformation that this entire journey had catalyzed extended far beyond professional achievements to encompass fundamental changes in how I understood leadership, innovation, and purpose. The betrayal that had initially devastated me had ultimately accelerated my development as an entrepreneur and business leader by forcing me to develop capabilities and perspectives that would never have emerged in more comfortable circumstances. The challenges we had overcome together as a team had created bonds and shared experiences that transcended typical employer-employee relationships. The satisfaction of achieving complete victory over Marcus and StreamlineAI had evolved into deeper fulfillment derived from the positive impact Velocity Tech was creating for thousands of small businesses and their community. The personal vindication I had sought during our early competitive battles seemed trivial compared to the broader mission we were now pursuing. The success we had achieved was meaningful because it represented validation of principles and values that could benefit far more people than just our immediate stakeholders. The future vision that guided Velocity Tech's continued development encompassed expanding our impact while maintaining the agility and customer focus that had enabled our initial success. The opportunities ahead included developing new technologies, entering additional markets, and forming partnerships that could accelerate the democratization of artificial intelligence. The foundation we had built was strong enough to support whatever challenges and opportunities awaited us in the coming year. The entrepreneurial ecosystem that Velocity Tech's success had helped establish in Denver and other markets continued generating new companies and innovations that extended our positive impact beyond our direct business activity. Former employees who started their own ventures frequently applied principles and approaches they had learned at Velocity Tech, spreading our culture and values throughout the broader business community. The talent and expertise we had developed was contributing to innovation and economic development that benefited entire regions rather than just our immediate organization. The culmination of this remarkable journey arrived not with a single dramatic moment, but through the gradual recognition that Velocity Tech had transcended its origins as a response to betrayal and competitive pressure to become a transformative force in multiple industries and communities. The mission that had motivated our founding was being fulfilled on a scale that exceeded our most ambitious original projections, creating value for customers, employees, investors, and society that validated every challenge we had overcome and every risk we had accepted. The story that had begun with devastating betrayal in a Denver boardroom had evolved into a testament to the power of innovation, determination, and principled leadership to create positive change that extended far beyond personal or commercial success. The victory we had achieved was complete not just because we had defeated our competitors, but because we had built something meaningful and lasting that would continue benefiting people long after the immediate battles were forgotten. The conference room where Marcus had once stripped away my life's work now housed a different kind of meeting entirely. As I looked around the table at Sarah, Bob, David, and the other leaders who had helped build Velocity Tech into a global platform, I realized that the betrayal that had once seemed like the end of everything had actually been the beginning of something far greater than I had ever imagined possible. The company we had created together represented not just professional achievement but proof that authentic leadership and genuine commitment to serving others would always triumph over corporate manipulation and financial engineering. The final irony was that Marcus's betrayal had ultimately benefited everyone involved except Marcus himself. The customers who now used Velocity Tech's superior platform achieved better results than they ever could have with StreamlineAI. The employees who had joined our mission enjoyed more fulfilling careers and greater financial success than they would have experienced in a traditional corporate environment. The investors who had supported our vision realized returns that exceeded anything Marcus's approach could have generated. Even Jessica, who had eventually found success in a consulting role that leveraged her marketing expertise, had learned valuable lessons about loyalty and integrity that improved her subsequent career decisions. The transformation was complete, but the mission continued. Velocity Tech had become more than a company.
It was a platform for empowering small businesses, a laboratory for technological innovation, and a demonstration that business success and social impact were not contradictory goals but complementary aspects of creating lasting value. The future held unlimited possibilities for extending our impact while maintaining the principles and relationships that had made our success possible in the first place. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.